I'm Micah Smith with Denver 7, and welcome to Denver Decides. This community partnership is dedicated to accessible and transparent elections. The partnership includes the League of Women Voters of Denver, Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation, and is presented by Denver 8 TV. Before we begin, we would like to extend a special thank you to our hosts for today's event, the Cherry Creek North Neighborhood Association and the 6th Avenue United Church of Christ. Our mission today is to present a ballot issue forum in anticipation of the general election coming up on Tuesday, November 5th. Among the numerous amendments and ordinance questions on this year's ballot is ballot issue number 2R. This measure asks Denver voters if Denver's sales and use taxes should be increased by 0.5% to generate $100 million a year to build, maintain, and acquire affordable housing units and reduce rents. Let's begin by meeting the participants who will discuss the pros and cons of ballot issue 2R. Beginning at my right is Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver. He will be speaking in favor of ballot issue 2R. And on my left is Kim Monson, the president of the Colorado Union of Taxpayers, and she will be speaking in opposition to ballot issue 2R. Let's welcome both of our speakers. We will begin with 1-minute opening statements from both speakers. Mr. Johnson, you are up first for ballot issue 2R.
Well, thank you so much to the folks that are here today, and thank you to the viewers at home. We know what is happening across Denver tonight, which is we have somewhere a teacher who has raised 2 kids and is worried every month that her rent is going to get increased one more time and she's not going to be able to continue to live and work in this city. We have a senior living on a fixed income who wants to be able to stay in the neighborhood where her grandkids are growing up and also knows that she's not going to be able to afford to live in this city much longer as rents go up and up. We have a high school kid who went to West High School and graduated from college and got a great job and wants to come back to Denver and knows now, as he looks at the rents, there's no way he can live in the city where he grew up. We know that we want Denver to be a place that can still be home for the folks who have loved it for so long. And if we do nothing, what we know is we're going to risk losing 45,000 families who tonight can't afford to live in Denver, even though they're fighting with everything they have to stay. We want to make sure we have a path for those families to stay in Denver, to make Denver their home, and to keep Denver affordable. That's why we're putting this measure on the ballot. That's why we'd love your support.
And now the opening statement from Kim Monson speaking against ballot issue 2R.
Well, Mark Twain said, "I shall never use profanity except in discussing house rent and taxes." Higher taxes make life less affordable for everyone. Increasing taxes at a time when Denverites have less money in their pockets because of government-induced inflation, high property taxes, and high energy costs is uncompassionate. If approved, 2R would increase Denver's sales tax by 14%, from 3.5% to 4%. Currently, Denver's total sales tax rate is 8.81. This is tax gouging. If 2R and the other proposed sales tax increases both pass, Denver's total sales tax rate would shoot to one of the highest sales tax cities in the country at 9.65%. There is a cause and effect. Many times individuals will choose to shop and dine in other jurisdictions with friendlier taxes, thereby reducing sales tax revenue in Denver. Additionally, as fundamentally when government programs hurt individuals by picking winners and losers.
We have heard opening statements from both of you. So now, Mayor Johnston, you have an opportunity to ask Ms. Monson a question. Ms. Monson, you will have 30 seconds to answer Mr. Johnston. Your question.
Thanks, Ms. Monson, for being here. Looking forward to the conversation. I think my question is, you've named that we know affordable housing is a crisis. We know we have teachers and nurses and firefighters across the city who will be pushed out. We know that we're 45,000 units short of the number of units that we need. We know that there's a big federal funding cliff that is going away, which means we're shorter, more resources than ever. We know we see more and more units getting built in our neighborhoods, and they're all unaffordable because they're coming in at luxury rates. And we know the market has not been able to solve this problem on its own in Denver or anyplace else. So knowing that, what is your affirmative solution, if not 2R, for how we're going to bring on the 45,000 units of affordable housing that stay affordable for families long-term in Denver?
Well, ultimately, what you're talking about is government subsidized housing. And when that happens, government picks winners and losers. So one of the culprits in this whole thing is certainly higher taxes. And with the repeal of the Gallagher Amendment, people saw that their property taxes rise anywhere from 20 to 40 plus. And so we really need to address that. We need to address these high taxes, which are really pushing people out of their homes, because I'm concerned that if we continue this spiral of higher and higher taxes, that people will be priced out of their homes.
And now, Ms. Monson, your turn to ask Mayor Johnson a question. Mayor Johnson, you'll have 30 seconds to reply.
Okay, thank you. A report from the National Association of Home Builders and National Multifamily Housing Council explains that 40.6% of the cost of multifamily development and 23.8% of the cost of single-family homes is due to rules and regulations. What rules and regulations could Denver reduce or eliminate to make housing affordable for all?
I'm really glad that you asked that, because this is a very important part of the solution for us, which is how do we make sure it's easier to build in Denver and it's cheaper to build in Denver. And one of the ways we're doing that is by accelerating the amount of time it takes to permit and build a project. Right now, this year, have already reduced the amount of permitting time by 30% to be able to build units. We'll continue to build that more aggressively. We've started a special fast track for people that are building units that are affordable so that they can get permitted and approved much faster to bring units on more quickly. So we do think reducing the cost of construction is important, and that's part of what we're doing with slowing permitting time. We'd love to talk more about how we can also reduce the cost of innovative financing, which I'll come back to.
And we will continue with direct questions from our speakers. And Ms. Monson, you have another question for Mayor Johnson. As before, you'll have 30 seconds to reply.
It's been reported that Denver per capita has more illegal immigrants than any other American city, which creates more demand for housing. It's not fair to tax and force Denverites who have been living, working, and paying taxes for years to pay for the services and housing for people who have come to America illegally. Homelessness is rampant in Denver, even though millions of dollars has been spent on the homelessness industrial complex here in Denver. That housing program is not working. Given that program's track record, why should Denverites trust that this new tax and spend program would be successful?
Great. Love to talk homelessness and migrants in 28 seconds. So first answer is we're very proud of the fact that we have over the last 14 months brought 1,872 people off the streets and into housing. That has housed more people faster than any city in America. And most importantly, we have decreased family homelessness by 83%. We've decreased tent homelessness by 50%. We will be the largest city in America to end homelessness for veterans on the street this year. Those are all critical steps. And we have reduced the total amount of spending on homelessness by $70 million from this year to next. I would love to talk about services for our newcomers, but I'm out of time, so I want to respect your time.
Yes. Mayor Johnson, you do have another question for Ms. Monson, and you'll have 30 seconds to respond.
Great. I think that the question I have is what we see right now happening in the housing market is that you see more and more units coming on that are unaffordable, that are luxury units at $2,000 or $3,000 a month that neighbors tell me over and over, I see this unit go up in my neighborhood, but nothing here can I actually afford. And so that is what the market's building. I want to know what your proposal is for how we bring on units that are going to be permanently affordable for teachers and nurses and firefighters if we do not have a path to be able to put requirements in those units.
I think the first place to start is these rules and regulations that is making it more expensive to build single-family homes and to build multifamily units. And I think we also need to get to a point where we have the path for ownership. So instead of all of these apartments, that young people have the opportunity to buy a condo so that they can start to create equity. But the reason that that's not occurring is because of government. So we need to get government out of the way, and I think that we could start to see these costs be reduced.
Our next few rounds will feature our speakers responding to questions submitted by our forum organizers. Each speaker will answer each question, and they will have 30 seconds for their answer. Mayor Johnston, who is here speaking in support of Ballot Issue 2R, you will be the first to answer this question. In your opinion, if this issue is not approved by the voters, what is the next best way to pay for additional affordable housing in Denver?
I think if this does not pass, what we know is we need to build about 4,000 to 5,000 affordable units a year if we want to keep families in Denver. If it doesn't pass after the federal dollars run out, we would be building around 1,000 to 1,500 a year next year. So that'll leave us with about 3,000 families in Denver each year that will be priced out of the city. That's the challenge that we're facing. And so I think what we would have to do in that context is look at what other options are. You can apply for federal grants. You can apply state dollars. We're already maxing out federal and state dollars. And so I think you'll see this as a crisis all over the country. We want Denver to be the city that actually addresses it, so you don't become the San Franciscos or the Austins or the New Yorks where no one can afford to live.
And now Kim Monson, who's here speaking against ballot issue 2R, your response to that question.
One more time.
In your opinion, if this issue is not approved by voters, what is the next best way to pay for additional affordable housing in Denver?
Well, again, when you take a look at this, and rules and regulations are increasing the cost over 40% for multifamily units and 24% for single-family homes, that is a place to start, is to reduce the onerous rules and regulations for building. And I think that people might have missed it, but I think that what I heard you say is that you are fast-tracking permits for the affordable housing units, but that's not an even playing field, because developers that would like to build maybe a lesser price point house, they don't have the same level playing field on the permitting situation that
Thank you, Ms. Monson.
housing does.
So we'll move on to our next question from our organizers for our guests. And Ms. Monson, you'll respond first. You'll have 30 seconds. How can a sales tax that will be an added expense on people who already struggle with paying their bills now be considered a benefit to them?
I agree. I think that is a very good question. Quite frankly, how can you really make sense that you're going to charge a higher sales tax? Because sales taxes are regressive. They hurt the people the most that are trying to move up the economic ladder. So taxing them more to give some benefit to somebody else that is chosen by governmental entities is just not fair.
Now, Mike, your response.
Great, I'm glad you asked this. So the data is this sales tax, most importantly, does not apply to groceries, does not apply to gas, does not apply to the core set of products you buy to support yourself. Total impact on a family would be about $2 a week. Important to know that 35% of all the sales tax in Denver are paid by non-Denver residents. Many are paid by tourists. But most importantly, the benefit you're talking about is the single most important bill in a family's stack right now in Denver by far is housing, the price of housing. What you're talking about is a $2 a week impact for a family that is trying to support themselves, looking at $800 to $1,000 a month of reduced rent. That math is actually very easy to do. I would take $2 a week increased payment for $1,000 a month decreased rent. That's the opportunity for families that want to stay.
We do want to continue with our questions submitted by the forum organizers. Mayor Johnson, you'll be first to answer this round. Unhoused individuals live not only in Denver, but throughout the metropolitan area. What is being done with other cities in the metro area to address homelessness in a coordinated fashion and on a region-wide basis?
Yeah, we are partnering right now with other cities and counties on how we can approach this problem collaboratively. We just opened a facility 2 weeks ago that is a partnership with Adams County, where they have co-invested in the project with us, and we're helping support individuals from both Adams County and from Denver. So we think it is a regional problem. We also know the great majority of that challenge rests in Denver because we're the capital city, and many other counties don't offer shelter or supportive services. So folks come to us for those services. We're happy to support them in being successful. I'm very happy that we now are on a path to have closed all 18 of the largest encampments in the city, and we think that's a great step forward.
Okay. Kim Monson, your response?
And again,
Unhoused individuals live not only in Denver, but throughout the metropolitan area. What is being done with other cities in the metro area to address homelessness in a coordinated fashion and on a region-wide basis?
what really needs to happen first and foremost is to address the reason for homelessness. And the elephant in the room is that a lot of it is addiction, and we need to address that. So instead of just looking at putting a Band-Aid on of charging everybody else for housing units for those that are homeless, we need to really dig down into the tragedy of why this is occurring, and we really need to address that. I went through the facility of Step Denver, which is a great program where men come in and they are taught the tools on how to become productive individuals.
Thank you, Kim Monson. And our final round of submitted questions, and Ms. Monson, you'll be first to answer, and this is a long question, so everybody stay with me here, okay? Just under 2 years ago, Colorado voters supported the passage of Proposition 123, a ballot initiative to address the housing crisis in our state. Prop 123 was Colorado's first statewide affordable housing ballot measure. How does the proposed affordable housing tax fit into state-supported funding? Does it overlap, or is it an additional source of income?
Micah, that is a good question. And that is a question I'll need to do some research on how those two things interface. But once again, government subsidized housing in many ways takes away the dignity of people being able to work and take care of themselves. It takes away the dignity of being able to pay for their own lives. And then also what happens is it takes away many times the opportunity of home ownership, which has created wealth for the middle class throughout America for many years.
Did you need
No, I got the question.
Okay.
Two things. One is I want to address, it is actually incredibly important for us to start at the root causes of homelessness. The root causes of homelessness are the cost of housing. Look at the 10 most expensive cities in America and look at the 10 highest homeless rates in the country. You will find the single highest rate of homelessness in the country is San Jose, California. Why? Because the average home price in San Jose is $1.3 million. That is what happens when housing becomes unaffordable. That's why this step is so important. And this is designed exactly to partner with Prop 123, which is state level dollars, and federal dollars through the LIHTC program to additionally add on local dollars to make more deals pencil. We have 2,000 units of affordable housing wanting to be built in Denver right now that are stalled because they don't have enough financing to get across the finish line. This gets them across.
Thank you, Mayor Johnston. On behalf of the forum organizers, we'd like to thank both of you for your participation in this forum. We hope we have given you a fair look at the pro and con arguments for ballot issue 2R. Again, it asks voters if Denver's sales and use taxes should be increased by 0.5% to generate $100 million a year to build, maintain, and acquire affordable housing units and reduce rents. Our thanks also to the Denver Decides partners, which include Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation and the League of Women Voters of Denver. Denver Decides is presented by Denver 8 TV. We would like to extend a special thank you to our hosts for today's event, the Cherry Creek North Neighborhood Association and the 6th Avenue United Church of Christ. Remember, the election is Tuesday, November 5th. Let your voice be heard, be sure you are registered, and be sure to vote. For complete election information online, go to denverdecides.org. I'm Micah Smith with Denver 7. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.